Okay, so just how I have to start on time because I have so much to say today. So I'm gonna start and talk fast. Okay, so we are up to the letter Shin. That means we are almost at the end of this long capital of Tehilim, and there's so much to say about Shin that I'm going to share today. So, firstly, the Gemara speaks about the letter Shin, and it says that when the children of Yerushalayim were asked, what does a Shin stand for? The immediate response was that Shin stands for Sheker, which means lies, falsehood. And then, without missing a beat, without being asked anything else, they said, and Taf, which is the following letter, stands for Emes. So we need to understand that what that's talking about. Why is it that the letter of Shin stands for Sheker? But the Gemara continues and explains to us the letters Shin, Kuf, and Reish that make up the word Sheker are all next to each other. So actually, they're not in this order. They Reish, it's Reish, Shin, that's Kuf Reish Shin is the actual order in the Aleph Bays, but they're all next to each other without any interruption. And the letter Emes, the letters for the word Emes, truth, um, are as far apart from each other as they can possibly be. The Aleph is the first letter of the Aleph Bays, the Mem is the middle letter of the Aleph Bays, and the Taf is the final letter of the Aleph Bays. And the Gemara explains, it says, this is how we find truth and untruth in the world. Untruth is everywhere. Next to it, wherever you look, here, next to it, next to it, next to it, you can always find untruth. But when it comes to truth, it's far apart. You have to go looking for the truth. It says that this world is actually called an Alma de Chakra, a false world, a world of lies, and truth. Emes is not easily found. The Ben Ish Chai, interestingly, it's his yahrzeit, I think tomorrow. One of these days. The Ben Ish Chai comments and he says, "Falsehood, sheker, has no feet." And what he's actually saying to us is falsehood doesn't is not lasting. It crumbles. Sheker, falsehood can only last for a certain amount of time, and then people find out that it's false, that it's not really true. Like lies fall apart. Whereas MS may at first not look like it may at first look like it's not so nice. It may at first we might be suspicious of it, but it is lasting and lasts forever. But deeper than that, says the Ben Ish Chai, and maybe you won't see it as deeper. He says, look at the letters of Sheker and Emes. They explain this concept to us itself. So the word Sheker, the Shin, the way it's written in Safras, in a Torah, is that it comes, the letters, it's got three arms, and they come together as in a point at the bottom. So it's like a one-legged letter. Then we have the Kuf, which has uh, the outside part, which has one leg, and a nice long piece, which also has one leg, the one legged letter, and the Resh, which has just one leg. And it says, so all of those three letters are not steady. They all have one foot, and that's sheker. It's not steady. Looks nice, whatever, but it's got one foot. It's not steady. The word emes, the aleph has 2 feet, so it stands firmly. The mem has a full bottom, it stands sturdy. And the taf has 2 feet as well, it's sturdy. And Ben Ish Chai explains to us that sheker is wonky. He doesn't use the word wonky, and the word emes stands strong and it stands firm. The Maharal points out, which doesn't seem to fit in right here, but as we learn these psukim, we will take it in and understand it. He says sheker doesn't have to be a full outright lies, but when some of the truth is missing, then that is also considered like incomplete truth is also considered sheker, is also considered lies. So now let's look and see what David Amelech has to say about this letter Shin and the concept of sheker. And he begins by saying, he starts off by saying, this is in Kuf Samach Aleph. He begins with a pasuk. He says, Sarim Radafuni, princes chased me, chinam, for nothing, umidvarcha pachad libi. And from your words, my heart is afraid. So we're going to look at this at three different explanations. Understand what it's talking about. Who are these sarim? Who are these princes who chased David Amelech chinam for free without any reason? And what is this words? What are these words that made David's heart fear? So first level that most of the Mephoshim comment about and say that the Sarim was actually princes, Jewish nobility, who behaved very badly towards David HaMelech. So this is speaking most specifically about Doeg and Achitophel. They were the two people who accused David HaMelech of not being allowed to be Jewish. And they came to David HaMelech. They knew that what they were saying wasn't true, but they came to him and they said that you were never allowed to be the king, and you're never allowed to be, you were actually not really halachically Jewish because you come from Rus, and Rus comes from Moab, and we know that it says in the Torah that someone from Moab cannot convert. And so you, David HaMelech, your whole being Jewish is like suspicious. It possibly isn't correct, and they themselves knew that what they were saying wasn't true, but they tormented David with this. And so he says, Sarim Redafuni, this nobility chased me, chinam, for nothing, because they knew it wasn't true, and I knew it wasn't true. But in the Torah Shebechtav, in the written Torah, it says clearly that someone's actually this week's parsha, that somebody from the people of Moab cannot convert. And so umidvarcha, from the words in your Torah, pachad libi. David HaMelech says there were times where I was worried. I thought, hey, maybe Tucker, maybe that's true. Maybe I'm not allowed to convert. Maybe I am not really acceptable. Maybe I shouldn't be the king. So he says, then I remembered that there is an oral Torah. The oral Torah that explains to us all the things that we can't really understand in the written Torah. And in the oral Torah, it says it's talking about Moavi v'loi Moavis, a male from the people of Moab cannot convert, but a female can. A male Ammoni v'lo Ammonis, and a male from Ammon cannot convert, but a female can. He says so. Then suddenly, Sasa Noichi al Imras Secha. I became very happy because of Imrascha, your words. That's your Torah Sheba'al Peh, Kamaitze Shalal Rav, because I found this greatness, this lot. So that's the simplest way to understand these first two psukim. Another way of understanding it is from the words Sarim Radafuni, and this time we are going to look and see that there were people who chased David HaMelech for nothing. There were people who gave David HaMelech a really hard time, and it was chinam. There was no good reason for their tormenting of David HaMelech. And David HaMelech, as the king, had the ability, possibly even the right, but definitely the ability to take revenge, to strike back, to harm them. And he says, I didn't do it, Varcha, because it's written in your Torah that that we not allowed to take revenge. So I didn't do it. And then, interestingly, the commentaries over here go on with something like sounds like it's off topic, but very interesting either way. And says that Rabbi Akiva says that every single letter was given a chance to put forward its argument why it should be the letter that the Torah starts with. And Shin, when it came forward and gave all the reasons why it should be the one who would start the Torah, the answer to it was no, you can't be. And why can't you be the one who starts the Torah? Because Shin stands for Shen, which means teeth, and teeth stand for wickedness. So, like, what on earth does that mean? That shin, that teeth, that shein, our teeth, stand for wickedness. And carries on Rabbi Akiva, and he explains. He says, go and look in the Torah. The first story about teeth has to do with Yaakov and Esav. And when Yaakov and Esav met each other for the first time after 22 years that Yaakov had been away, Esav wanted to kill him, but he didn't want anyone to know that he was going to kill his brother. And so he pretended to hug him. And if you have a look in the Torah portion over there, it says that they kissed, and there's lots of dots all over the word, and they kissed. And the Mefarshim explained to us that actually Esav tried to bite Yaakov. His plan was to shacht him, to go for the jugular, bite him, and this way kill him outright. And what did Hashem do for Yaakov? Traditionally, it says that he made Yaakov's neck into marble, and Esav's teeth didn't fare so well in this encounter. And says the Medrash over there, and Esav's teeth were blunted. Okay, so that's our first story in the Torah of a Rasha, a wicked person, trying to harm a tzaddik, a good person, and his teeth get blunted. The next story we have in the Torah about teeth blunting us is with a story with Og Melech HaBashan. It's Og Melech HaBashan meets the Yidden, and he picks up a mountain. Remember, he's this big giant, and he picks up a mountain and he holds it over the heads of all the Jews. And all of a sudden, ants and locusts came from all over, and they hollowed the inside of this mountain. They ate it hollow, and the mountain, it says, fell like in a circle around Og's neck, and it blunted his teeth, and he couldn't fight the Jews anymore. And we wonder what that means. Like, is this a literal story that a mountain became hollow and fell over Og's neck and blunted his teeth? It seems like a little bit far-fetched. So first I'm going to say that we absolutely believe that all Midrashim are true, okay, at every level. But we can take it even one deeper and say that it's a mashal for us to explain that that Og's teeth were blunted, which means that the harm that he, the Russia, wanted to do to the Jewish people, that harm was blunted. It was made impossible for him to do that. Why was he even able in the beginning to pick up a mountain and hang it over the heads of the Jews? Was because he had certain merits. And he picked up his merits, so to speak. His mountain were his merits, and he picked that up and he held it over the Jews, and he said, Yidden, I can get you because I have certain merits that you don't have. And what did Hashem do? He blunted Og's teeth. He took away his merit, and he made him unable to harm the Jews, and Moshe was able to kill him. The third place that you all know where it talks about teeth is in the Haggadah, and it speaks about the different sons. And the one son is the Rasha, he's the wicked son. And it says that how should you react to the wicked son? You should blunt his teeth, right? You should think. So clearly, blunting teeth means taking wickedness and doing away with it. And what does it actually mean? Blunting the teeth, okay, because you probably have never seen anybody stand up at the Seder and smash in the teeth of someone there who they consider to be a Rasha, wicked person. And so Chazal explained to us, which explains this whole concept of teeth representing wickedness, that what teeth do is that they don't obviously hurt someone. Teeth take big things and make them small, right? So you take your apple and it's much too big just to swallow it like that. So you put it in your mouth and you chew and you chew and you chew, and then you can swallow it. And says this is the act of the teeth. Take something big and turns it into something irrelevant, small, nothing. And that's what wickedness is. When we take something that's really big, that's really important, and we smash it into nothing, we turn it into nothing, that's wickedness. And so we're taking the greatness of Torah and we making it into nothing, that is wickedness, and therefore the letter shin, could not be the letter to start the Torah. So that's the second level of understanding this. The third level of understanding this, Sorim Redafuni, that princes chased me, chinam, for nothing. So it says the Gemara that this David HaMelech was talking about was the adversaries that he had from his own family, his father-in-law and his own son, who gave him real sorrows during his lifetime. And then the Gemara says something pretty frightening. It says that having your own family having a war with you, someone in your own family giving you trouble, this is harder for a person to deal with than facing the war of Gog and Magog. And this is what David HaMelech was saying. He says this, facing facing my own father-in-law, facing my own son who were fighting a war with me, this made me really panic, made me really scared. And then the commentaries start asking, so, okay, so what does this mean? Umidvarcha pachad libi, and my heart was so afraid of your words, Hashem. Again, at a simple level, what David HaMelech was saying is he thought he would have to leave Israel as a result because he would have to run away from them. And he felt that leaving Israel was a sin, midvarcha, from your words, Hashem. I would have to go down, I would have to leave the land of Israel. And that's what Pachad Libi, that's what he was afraid of. And the Gemara carries on with us, and he said, David was not afraid that he would be harmed by them, because David was at the level of understanding that if they managed to harm him, he was meant to be harmed, or whatever, which we'll discuss a little bit more after. But what David was afraid is that he wasn't going to be able to keep Torah the way that he was keeping it up until now. And the commentaries explain what is this concept of pachad libi. My heart was scared. What is this fear? And the Alter Rebbe, actually, when he was taken as a prisoner, they found in his drawer, wherever he kept his things, a note with this pasuk written on it, and was written "Umidvarcha pachad libi." From your words, my heart is scared. And what was the Alter Rebbe actually saying? He says, he's saying, I'm going to face the worst possible thing that a person could now face. I'm going to be taken, I'm going to be interrogated, I'm going to be tortured. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I might face the firing squad. I might go to exile. I don't know what's going to happen to me now. But the only thing I'm afraid of is Hashem. Umidvarcha, from your words, Hashem, that's the only thing that makes me scared. Another story that's told like this is about our Rebbe. Someone, he was once going to have a procedure done, and someone asked the Rebbetzin, "Is your husband scared?" And she answered. She said, "My husband is only scared of Rosh Hashanah." In other words, he's only scared of Hashem. He's not scared of anything else. He isn't scared of worldly things. And actually, there's a whole mimer written on the idea that we say in our davening, "Uvechein tein pachtacha." Please give us fear, or fear of you, Hashem. Because we actually ask Hashem on Yontif that the only thing that we should fear is Hashem, nothing, no one, anything else, only Hashem. And a lot of discussion about the fact that the more a person fears God, the less they fear anything else. The Malbim actually explains, he says, no one is afraid of a bee when they're standing in front of a lion. because when we realize the greatness of Hashem and we are God fearing, then nothing else in the world can make us scared. I think Rabbi Jonathan Sachs actually expresses it very nicely. He says, "Fear of God, fear of Hashem, eradicates all other fears." So the more a person fears Hashem, the less they will fear anything else. So that is the third level of understanding these words. Sorim radafuni chinom umidvarcha pachad libi. And most of the Mepharshim, in summing up these two psukim, speak about the fact that all of us fear the war of Gog and Magog, the final war that will come before Mashiach, and we do have fear in it, but that is considered the same fear as fear of God, and we're allowed to down to Hashem that we shouldn't be affected by that. Pasuk Kuf Samach Gimel 163. David HaMelech says, Sheker Sanesi, I hate falsehood, V'asa'eva teirascha ahavti, V'asa'eva, and I abhor it, teirascha ahavti, and your Torah I love. So it's a strange pasuk, and it also seems to be the wrong way around. It should actually say, I love your Torah, and I hate falsehood. So what is this false I hate, and I love your Torah? So actually, as Yidden, we are not permitted to hate. Just a person is not allowed to. We're not allowed to hate. It's not okay to hate. So how can David HaMelech say, I hate? Okay, actually I abhor sheker, and I love your Torah. And the Radak explains to us that the more you love something, then a natural thing happens that you hate anything that stands for the opposite of it. So even at a very smaller level, if you have a child who you love and there's somebody who's bullying your child, then we start disliking, that's a nice word, disliking the person who's bullying them, right? When there is something we love very much, anything that spoils that, anything that's, I think it leads us naturally to hate the opposite of what we love. So the fact that David HaMelech hates sheker is a proof to us that he loves Torah. And that's what he's saying. He says, when I realized how much I hate sheker, how much I hate falsehood, then I realized Torah hafti, how much I love your Torah. And he explains over here, he says, Sheva bayayim hilalticha, 7 times a day I praise you, al mishpatei tzidkecha, because of your just righteousness, or your judgments that are righteous. So, what is the 7 times a day? I praise you. So, Rafi gives this very specific parameters. He says there's 7 times a day that we're obligated to praise Hashem. The brachas before Shema, and the bracha after Shema, and the Shema itself, right? And the morning one and afternoon one until we come to 7. Other opinions that it's talking about the fact that a man wears 4 tzitzis. We obligated to put 1 mezuzah up, and to say Shema twice a day, in the morning and the night. So that's 4 and 1 and 2, which is 7. The Metzudas just says that 7 is a number, that's a lot. And it just means a lot of times a day I praise you. It doesn't mean a specific. The Gemara Yerushalmi says no, it's talking about very specific times. And he says it's talking about the 7 brachas that we have in the Shemona Esrei on Shabbos. Also the 7 kaddishes that a person says when they're davening. And the Medrash Tanchuma also goes with specific 7 and says that Sheva, the word Sheva, stands for Shema, brachas, and Amidah. Shema you're obligated to say twice a day. Brachas you're supposed to say Birkas Hamazon twice a day. And the Amidah you're supposed to say 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. So that's again 7, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. So some of the commentaries say when David HaMelech says 7, he means 7. Other Mefarshim, as we said, the Metzudah says that it's talking about the various um, the various specific mitzvahs. And then the Gemara tells a really bit of a weird story. It says that David HaMelech was in the bathhouse, and suddenly he realized that in the bathhouse he doesn't have any of the seven things that he just said a person has to have all the time. He doesn't have a mezuzah on the bathhouse door. He's not wearing tzitzis. He's not saying Shema or Amidah. He says, "What am I? Who am I? What am I? What am I doing?" And suddenly he realized that he has bris milah, and that he has with him wherever he is, and that's even higher. A bris milah happened on the eighth day. And then the Gemara tells us a weird story, and the Gemara tells that seven represents natural and eight represents above natural, above normal, and carries on telling, all seems like random information, that the harp of David HaMelech in the Beis HaMikdash had seven strings, but when Mashiach comes, the harp of David HaMelech will have eight strings. And so, like, we wonder about all these pieces of random information, how it all comes together. And the commentaries explain to us that eight is not a continuation after seven, right? We don't have an eighth day of the week, and the day after the seventh day goes back to one, right? It's not the eighth day of the week, but eight is higher than seven. Seven represents what we're busy doing now in the world, in nature. We're doing the mitzvahs that we are supposed to be doing now, and we are working on creating this level of greatness, connection through seven Sheva Hilalti, as it says over here, seven times seven times that we praise Hashem in the sevens. That's the Avodah, that's the service that we are doing now. The highest service is eight. But there's no way that you can get to eight without going through seven. So even though eight is its own Aveda, we have to be going through this world now. We have to be doing the mitzvahs of this world now. We have to be working hard in this world now so that we can reach the eighth day, the time of Mashiach, which is obviously a much higher, greater time than now. And then David HaMelech continues and he says, Shalom Rav le'ohavei Saresecha. There's lots of peace for those who love your Torah, ve'ein lamay michshol, and they will not face any obstacles. So there won't be any stumbling blocks for them. So very literal level, those who love Torah will not stumble. Nothing will be in their way. And Radak can't agree with this at all because he says, David HaMelech, of all people to say that, David HaMelech had so many obstacles. He loved Hashem. He says in almost every single capital of Tehilim how much he loves Torah and he loves Hashem. And he had plenty of stumbling blocks and he had plenty of things in his way and lots of challenges and lots of crises. So what does it mean when he says that a lover of Torah has no stumbling blocks? And the Radak answers, he says, people who love Torah don't see their stumbling blocks as stumbling blocks. They see the challenges that they go through as challenges that they're going through right now, and they don't feel them as stumbling blocks. Rav Azari goes one step further, deeper. I think it's much more than one step. He goes a lot deeper, and he starts talking about the concept of tshuva. And he says there's two ways a person can do teshuva. A person can do teshuva out of love, or a person can do teshuva out of fear. And he says someone who does teshuva out of love. What does that actually mean? It means that somebody had a barrier between him and Hashem, whether he caused the barrier to happen, or it just happened, or he never had that connection to start with. And there was a distance created between him and Hashem. And now he wants to get close to Hashem. And he works very hard at getting close to Hashem. Then we have this incredible promise that says, all his previous sins are now considered merits. So how do we have this promise from this pasuk that says, Shalom Rav le'ohavei Torasecha, those who love your Torah, those who those who do teshuvah, make an effort to come close to Hashem through love. There's no stumbling blocks, there's no obstacles, there's nothing between them and God anymore, because all those barriers have now become um, connections, right? They all bring us close to Hashem. Um, the Ma'amrei says this is talking about an Oyave Soresecha is talking about someone who lives in peace and works and keeps Torah, and he makes Torah into his priority. Such a person who is Isaac Batera, who Torah is their priority, is something which they love, they will have Shalom Rav. They will have lots of peace. And the Alshich says that this pasuk is just telling us, it's not even telling us how to behave, it's just a fact. If you have no obstacles, then you have lots of peace. If you have lots of peace, you won't have lots of obstacles. And says the Alshich, this is an encouragement for all of us to get involved with Torah and to love it. And the Chidah takes this a little bit further and says, Ayhavei Torah, who are those? So some we could say an Ayhavei Torah, lover of Torah, is somebody who studies Torah and gets so much pleasure from the study of Torah. He learns Torah lishma, for its own sake. So he doesn't need rewards. He's just learning Torah and he loves the Torah because he loves the Torah. So for example, when you spend time and you babysit your grandchild, so you don't need your children to pay you for babysitting your grandchild, because just the act of being with your grandchild, that's already makes you happy, right? That gives you that, it gives you that fulfillment, it gives you that good feeling. And that's how we're supposed to learn Torah. That the act of learning Torah, that's enough for us. That gives us Shalom Rav, it gives us that peace, that plenty of peace. And then the Chidah says, so just to sum that little thought, is that spending time with Torah in itself is a reward for us. We don't have to have a separate reward. But the Chidah goes one step further, and he says, an Ohavei Torah, a lover of Torah, is not just the people who are able to sit and learn Torah and learn it at this highest level, loving Hashem, and learn it at this level of that is enough for me just to learn Torah. But an Ohavei Torah is someone also who supports Torah study. It says these are the Ashirim, these are the rich people. Because they love Torah and they use their money in the support of Torah, they are also freed of their Yetzer Hara, which is their mechshol, their stumbling block, and they also are freed of all stumbling blocks, and they also are able to find Shalom Rav, a lot of peace. And I guess that is where we are going up to today. Um, we will finish and probably talk next week. We should plan a siyam, a big siyam for this long pickle that we have been busy with.
Thank you, Rifki. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rifki. Have a good Shabbos and
good
take care.
Shabbos. And
Yeah.
you. And you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.